talking about this at breakfast, but it was a question I think, Ruth, you thought of. How has your journey with your parents' death and your sister's death that you went through, how has that informed your relationship and your relationship with aging?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I think that in all those instances, we've been fortunate that it brought us closer instead of further apart. I think I just thought of this, but I think maybe it helped both of us that both of our parents were failing at the same time, pretty much. And so when there'd be one crisis for Jim and his dad, say, it might not be crisis time for my parents, and I could be there for him and sort of hold down the fort here or be supportive of him there. And then usually it wasn't the exact same time that my parents were in crisis. And so we could go back and forth and be there for each other as, support. And we knew what the other person was going through, that dissonance between being really frustrated that they were making our lives hard, and then also caring so much about them and not wanting them to die. And it's just such an emotional time, and it's helpful to have a partner who's there for you and somebody to talk to who really understands. So I think that was a pretty helpful way to get closer together, and also to give us some lessons about what we do and don't want for our relationship to be as we get older. It was nice to think of my parents, that they would, be playing cards, and the caregiver would hear them in the other room cracking up laughing, and she'd say, "What's up with you guys?" And my mom said at one time, "Oh, we just realized we're both playing different card games." And then they laughed and they just went back to it. And the caregiver said, she'd hear them talking together late at night in bed together and holding hands. And their relationship was not always wonderful, but as they aged, they grew closer and closer. And that to me that's what I would really like. So that was helpful to see that, they sort of forgave each other for earlier foibles. And so that's helpful for me to see too.
So when you later on watch Ruth and I have parallel conversations, you'll understand.
We'll just laugh about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, actually, all of that really hard stuff was a pretty good reinforcer for you. I totally agree with Ruth about it's like this amazing window of looking out, thinking about a point that I know I hadn't thought about it before, about, when we get to that point, what can we do better so that we don't have to put probably any of our family members through what we both respectively went through. That was a big, big lesson. It really was. Still working on it. But yeah, that would be the big one.
Have you thought of anything you would do differently?
What we are doing differently is being a lot quicker and more aggressive than I think we would have been about basically shedding stuff and getting rid of stuff and basically lightening up what we've accumulated so that it, it's really hard to plan for the moment when you lose enough capacity because you don't know it, or at least in my parents' and your parents' case, it's just, it was such a slow slide. And I don't know, I'm not prepared for how to deal with that one yet. I'm not sure it will, I don't know. Yeah.
When you think about passing on to your kids, as they assume the role of shepherding you through that phase of life, what would you say you learned that you might pass along to them, or what kind of conversation would you like to have with them about that?
Well, one of the things that we talked about a lot when we were going through this with our parents was that we were teaching them our kids lessons along the way, because I was aware after I said it, how important it was for my future care that we kept saying, this is your dad's money, it's not our money, and we want the best for him. And we said that a lot to our kids, but it wasn't purposeful at the time, but it was like, well, this is Grandpa's money, and his care is expensive, but it's his money. And so we really want him well cared for. And I think of that with our kids. I think that they would also make sure that we're well cared for, and that they wouldn't be looking for the cheapest option, or, just that's what you do for your parents, that you're there for them the way they were there for you when you were young, when you were a child. So I think that they got that lesson from us, which I think ends up being important, and that we dropped everything to care for our parents when we had to, and that I don't mean I want them to cater to us or anything, but that the generations are important to each other, mm-hmm. and that it's really you do want to be there, and then we did talk with them too about some of the times that we went and it was difficult. We didn't want to have any regrets when they died. We didn't want to say, I wish I went that time and it wasn't that important what I gave it up to do. Just you don't want to hold on to grudges, and that you want to not have any regrets when they die, and know that you did the best you could and that you had a good relationship with them. And I'm hoping that we talked about that with them at the time, and that they know that's important.